We already have GPT 4.5, but what if we went back and got access to GPT 4.1? Well, that's what OpenAI just enabled via their API, and in fact, they're going to be deprecating GPT 4.5 preview in that API as well. But why? Well, they released 3 new models. There's 4.1, 4.1 Mini, and 4.1 Nano, OpenAI's first Nano model. The headline is they all outperform GPT 4.0 and GPT 4.0 Mini with major gains in coding and instruction following, specifically front-end coding as well, which is what I'll be testing. What's really cool though is they have a larger context window. They all support up to 1 million tokens of context and are actually able to better use that context with improved long context comprehension. It seems that Gemini is forcing some hands here, which is great for us. It also has great vision performance too, often beating out GPT 4.0. But I'm a developer, so let's see this in Cursor. Here in Cursor then, I'm using GPT 4.1. They actually already added it to Cursor, which is super cool to see. I'm asking it to create me a contact form with a modern, sleek design. It should incorporate a variety of interactive elements to enhance user engagement. I just want to see things like input fields for the email name. I also want to see some sliders and a load of different things like that, just so we can see how it behaves on those front-end UI elements. Also said use Tailwind down here and do this all in the page.tsx. Let's hit send on this and see how fast this creates us a nice application. Here we go, 20 seconds later, it says it's complete. It just added in a form on the page like I wanted it to. Now imagine this is probably going a little bit slower than the 4.1 model is capable of, because I'm sure a lot of people are testing this out in Cursor at the moment, and obviously that relies on how Cursor are hosting the model as well. Loading up the application though, you can see it did create quite a nice looking form here. We have a nice contact us with the inputs. Is a bit of an issue with the responsiveness going on here, so I do need to fix that. It did also leave in the template that we have up here, but that's probably because I didn't ask it to. I just said add it to the page. But we did get these sliders as well, and these look quite nice. Everything is working, and the checkboxes. Overall, it looks like quite a nice front-end element. I'll go ahead and try this out with 4.0 so we have something to compare it to. Then I'll also test out Claude 3.7 Sonnet. So let's hit send on this one. And there we go. This one took around 10 seconds here. And this is the result of GPT 4.0. You can see we have a card here that's white for some reason, even though I'm using dark mode, which the other one actually respected. Our inputs here look a bit basic. They don't have that focus ring that highlights like the other one did. The other one actually looked like it took inspiration from Shadcien, whereas this is more what a beginner would sort of style out in Tailwind or something like that. You can see we did get our sliders. Is also trying to use a grey text on white here, which is pretty unreadable. That's definitely not accessible. And then our submit and reset button here just look a bit basic, nothing fancy. One final comparison then against Claude 3.7 Sonnet here. And this is the result. As you can see, it's the first model that actually got rid of that template text that we had. And I'd say overall this design is quite nice. It followed that dark mode that I already had. We have our slider down here, although this text doesn't seem to be working. We also have our checkboxes, messages, submit and reset button. In my opinion though, 4.1 definitely was the best looking one. It definitely took inspiration from Shadcien, and I gave these all identical prompts. So I definitely think it's had some of that in its training set. Obviously, it's going to come down to preferences, which UI you prefer, but overall 4.1 is showing great gains over 4.0 in terms of front-end coding. Now, one code example isn't always the best, so let's see the benchmarks and then also the pricing, as that plays a role too. First, an interesting note is they actually used Windsurf's internal coding benchmark and found that 4.1 scored 60% higher than GPT 4.0. For the usual coding benchmarks though, GPT 4.1 is significantly better than GPT 4.0, including at agentically solving coding tasks, front-end coding, making fewer extra edits, following diff formats reliably, and ensuring consistent tool usage, and loads more. On SWE-bench Verified, GPT 4.1 completes 54.6% of tasks, compared to 33.2% for GPT 4.0. They actually worked on improving the model's ability to explore a code repo, finish a task, and produce code that both runs and passes tests. A surprising one is Ada Polyglot. GPT 4.1 more than doubles GPT 4.0's score, and it even beats GPT 4.5 by 8%. So it looks to be really strong on coding, but of course another benefit of 4.1 is the pricing. The base model is $2 for 1 million input tokens and $8 for output. Mini is 40 cents versus $1.60 for output. And then Nano is actually 10 cents input and 40 cents output. Nano is actually OpenAI's fastest and cheapest model available. So a few of these models are definitely going to be a contender against Gemini and also against Claude 3.5 and 3.7, which are absurdly expensive. Back to the benchmarks, the other aspects that 4.1 performs really well on is instruction following. GPT 4.1 improves significantly over GPT 4.0 on hard prompts in particular, nearly scoring as well as 4.5 and the reasoning models. A similar pattern actually happens on the multi-challenge accuracy test and IFEVAL ones. And for the long context benchmarks like needle in a haystack, 4.1, 4.1 Mini, and Nano are all able to retrieve the needle in the haystack up to all positions in that 1 million context window. In fact, on OpenAI MRCR, they found that GPT 4.1 outperforms 4.0 at context lengths up to 128,000 tokens and maintains that strong performance all the way up to 1 million tokens. Essentially, the GPT 4.1 family offers exceptional performance at a lower cost and at a low latency. Let me know how you get on in the comments down below, subscribe, and as always, see you in the next one.